Good morning and welcome to Deadline Press Agency's roundup of today's news. My name's Oliver Faramond.
And my name's Roy Reynolds. Let's have a look at today's papers.
On the front page of today's Scottish Sun, a classic Glasgow crime story, a £9 million drugs empire that was taken down after a high-tech police sting.
There's a big story in the newspapers today. The Sun have a big spread on it, as do the Daily Star. And the Daily Star have a picture of The Wire, the US cop drama, and they're saying the operation, which was called Lockdown, which led up to that, was similar.
The story broke originally yesterday on the web with the comparison to The Wire as one of the top lines, and it's interesting that the Star have gone for the direct comparison with the big graphic, and the Sun haven't really mentioned it anywhere prominent. The Sun spreading it over pages 1, 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 with a full rundown of the stash that they recovered from the crooks. On page 27 of today's Scottish Daily Mirror, a great story about Arnold Schwarzenegger, the governor of California. A piece of legislation was proposed by the state's elected assembly, and it was proposed by a man who insulted Arnold at a party. So Arnold rejected this with a very snippy letter, and the key is that the first letter of every line spells out "f*** you," which is extremely surprising. Today's Scottish Daily Express has on its front page a story about the Nimrod, but we'll move on to that later. On page 7 of the Daily Express, a story about a woman who poisoned some Abyssinian cats who were eating her strawberries. She laced their tuna with antifreeze, and she says she just wanted to scare them, comparing it to having a bad meal at a restaurant. One of the main stories dominating the press today is the hearings findings concerning the Nimrod crew that died in 2006. That's on the front page of today's Herald and the Times and a number of other newspapers. Essentially, a review has found that a business of culture took over the Ministry of Defence at the expense of safety and airworthiness of their craft.
That's on the front page of the Daily Telegraph today. They have the individual pictures of each of the 14 crewmen who lost their lives on that day.
And on the front page of the Scottish Daily Express, the top line they've gone with is that the mother of Ben Knight, who died on the Nimrod, has called for jobs to be lost at the top levels of management at the Ministry of Defence. On page 26 of the Times today, work has finally begun on Donald Trump's very large development in the northeast of Scotland. This story's in a few papers today, and on the BBC yesterday, Donald Trump Jr. called objectors to the plans extremists. One of the interesting things about this story today is in a couple of the papers have really captured some remarkable images of Donald Trump Jr. And if anyone's seen the movie American Psycho, he bears more than a passing resemblance to crazed yuppie Patrick Bateman.
On page 7 of the Daily Telegraph today, there's a story about how the BNP will use the Scottish voting system to win a seat at Holyrood.
These are remarks made by Nick Griffin in a radio interview while he was backing the party Forward Edge Battle Area, a veterans charity for the North East by-election in Glasgow.
The Scottish Parliament obviously uses the proportional representation system, or one similar to it, that allows smaller parties to win seats in the Parliament.
More on Nick Griffin on the front page of today's Daily Record. He was egged as he left the studio where he recorded the radio interview we mentioned before.
The Record have charted the BNP's leader's day. He visited a radio station in Glasgow to campaign for the upcoming by-election, and he was greeted by angry protesters. They've charted his day, and it ends here with him speeding off in a Mercedes down the M74 towards England. On page 17 of the Record today, a biker has been jailed for 9 months and banned from the roads for 5 years for doing 106 miles an hour over the speed limit. Neil Purvis was the fastest person ever to travel on a Scottish road. He clocked 166 miles per hour, and it's surprising that he's only been banned for 5 years. Front page of the Scotsman today, that's a picture of Jim Murphy meeting Pope Benedict in St. Peter's Square in Rome, and the Scottish Secretary has been campaigning for the Pontiff to visit Scotland. Cheryl Cole's plans to have an underground swimming pool at her £3.5 million mansion in Surrey have been sunk by the local council. The X Factor star wanted to stop people spying on the intimate episodes between her and her England footballer husband, Cole.
Thanks very much for listening. Today is Thursday the 29th of October. See you tomorrow.